Hello, this is Gene. Excuse the, uh, I can't even say what I'm going to say. My look, I guess. I'm very not unkept. We had some issues here after the storm and some other things. But I do want to say something this week in my episodic series of Cucks of the Week. And this week it's going to be about the NFL and also the players' unions. And I'm going to talk about some other stuff. So this might become very rambly at some point. I haven't had a whole lot of time to sleep the last 2 weeks. Just starting to get back. As far as Irma, we didn't really have a whole lot of things happen here. Most people here lost their power. We didn't lose our power. I lost my back fence, part of the roof, probably 40 or 50 shingles came off. Pool screen got damaged a little bit, and we got water inside the house, which is kind of strange. Don't really know about this event, or when what they call it, driven wind rain. When you have hurricanes and stuff, it's going so fast that sometimes it could go underneath the house, and that's what's happened to us. Water came into the front of our house. So we had people out here, and I don't know who's going to cover it. Flood's going to cover it, or my home insurance. Then before I get to the actual cucks of the week, I just want to say something a little bit about insurance. I was watching, I think it was David Webb, not watching, I was listening to it on the car, and somebody from Indiana called on talking about Florida. He didn't say that we deserve. He said that because we don't have a state's income tax, we have 0% here, so people come here and retire, other than the fact that people come down here because of the war and weather. And he doesn't think that people from Indiana, where he comes from, should be supporting that. And I'm just sitting there thinking, in order for me to have a mortgage, I have to have insurance, house insurance. And I think since 2004, you have to have your hurricane deductible on it, which I have. And I don't know what he's talking about. If the federal government comes in and tries to help, the roads being built, or factories being built, or whatever, I don't understand why he wants to be so, I think that Indiana never gets any issues that have to be taken care of. And I would just say to that guy that, hey, most people leave Indiana to come to Florida in their life. They just do. Most people from Florida, from that area, from Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, New York, Ohio, all those people are down here. I was born in St. Louis. I grew up until I was about 6 or 7 in southern Illinois, and we moved to Florida. It's kind of like a rite of passage. So I don't understand why he has got this issue with people in Florida, because we don't have we don't have income tax rates, I guess. We don't pay anything in state income tax. And I guess he feels that if we had a 1 or 2%, that would help for recovery of a storm like this. I think if people, before, again, I can rant all over this. I'm not a big fan of insurance. But if everybody had insurance, and that would keep the cost down. What we normally pay for, people who have insurance are paying for people who don't have insurance, and that's why it keeps it up. And these companies are not just doing it just for the good of their heart. They're trying to make money out of it. So it's almost like a game that you play with it. And I feel no sympathy for them. I paid in the last 12 years probably $25,000 in my home insurance, and probably $3,000, maybe $2,000, no, $3,000 in flood insurance. So if they have to come in now and replace things, now remember, those who don't live in your hurricane-affected areas, you can get anything like from a $500 deductible, which is rare. That means that your insurance would be like $10,000 a year, or you get 2%, which most people have in this country or in this state. And my house, when they first did it, it said my house was like $350, I guess. It's not worth that anymore. So I have to pay 2% of that to get anything accomplished. There's a possibility that I'm not going to have any more than $7,000 or $8,000 damage to my house. So, it may end up being that they still get all the money from me, and it's like a gamble for them, and it's a gamble for me, and I have to have it for my mortgage company as well. So either you support the idea of insurance for everybody, and that keeps the costs down, and those companies can come in when they need to. But you know, the people that come out and looked at my house, they've been all kind so far. I don't know the report they're going to say back. I don't know how much they're going to give me back. You know, that's not really part of this issue, but I just don't like it when people from other areas like, well, if Florida had this, then we wouldn't have to pay for them. I'm like, somebody in Indiana, you might have to pay a little bit for somebody here. But I still remember growing up that there was a huge floods and stuff that was going to the Midwest back then. And I think people try to help out people in Indiana and Southern Illinois and stuff. So I don't like that. We're all here together. Yeah, we should say everybody should have insurance, but some people don't have the money to pay for insurance. So that's another issue as well. Now let me get to where I was going to. Today or a couple days ago, there was a thing that came out that said that I don't know if there was a union that was calling for it or application groups were talking about for the NFL to have a month to talk about social justice issues. Now, of course, that's not going to do anything with a white poverty or anything like that. It's going to be about black issues. And the NFL is already losing a lot of viewerships. And there's a reason for it. And a lot of people think it's because there's a part of it is the whole Colin Kaepernick, you know, the kneeling, and some of them are still doing this. And you see what is happening. These kids are following their quote-unquote heroes, and they're doing that at the Pee Wee level. But I've noticed this with the NFL and the NBA, even though they try to say the NBA is one of the biggest leagues in the world and it will always be popular on the worldwide stage. That's probably true. I mean, it's behind soccer. It's one of the biggest sports in the world. But in the NFL, they've lost the culture that watch football that would pass it down to their kids and all that stuff. They're not really like the national pass spread anymore. The only people that really are like that are the college football. Those, it really is the same. It's not that way in the NFL. It's too corporated. It's all about them. It's the individual. It's support of the team. When you're in college, it's almost about the team. But I've seen this going on for a long time, and there is an issue, and why I'm choosing them as the Cucks of the week. Because, of course, they're going to buy down to this. They're going to say, that's fine, we're going to have this, and we're going to see these PSAs about how bad life has been in this country for people of color. And when it comes to this, they're not talking about Hispanics. They're talking about black people. You have very few people, Hispanic names, that they would not consider themselves black, let's say, because Samoans still sometimes are equated to black people. Although I don't know if The Rock thinks he's black. He probably does. So we're going to see this every day, and it's going to have more and more people say, I'm not going to watch this anymore. Why do I have to watch stuff like this and be taught all this lessons about how bad, the white country of America is, because we did all this stuff in the back when everybody else and every other races have done it. So it's not just, this is progress, I guess, but they're kind of like myopic about what their viewers want. And I think they make so much money that they don't care if they lose 10 or 15% of the people watching them, because they have so much money that's coming in through fantasy. And the NFL is getting their trademark on all this stuff. And eventually, there's going to be a team in Las Vegas that's like, okay, we're going to be there. And of course, at some point, they're going to say it's okay to bet on teams, and they're going to get their little cut of that as well. So they don't really care if the white man, my age, watch the games anymore, because they know they have a built-in money base. Last night, I'm just flicking it through the channels. I don't watch the NFL much. Sometimes I might throw it at the end of the Dolphins game if it's close, because that's the team I grew up with. So I might watch the end of it. I did that when we were against San Diego, which somehow they won. And sometimes I watch, was it Red Zone? So I can just see when the scores, I get to see the touchdowns. I watch college football and I watch British football. I don't watch the NFL that much anymore. And I didn't leave the NFL because of the protests. It was more of a, what I'm seeing on the floor does not really represent me. Now that might sound racist or whatever, but this idea, and I think there needs to be an actual discussion about this. When I grew up, this is a long time ago, 35 years ago, yeah, 40 years ago when I started playing Pee-wee football. And back then the NFL and college was more probably 60 to 40 white to black people playing the game. And of course it's totally went the other way now. It's probably 90 to 10 or 80 to 20 at the major universities. When you get down to the smaller universities, sometimes they're half and half. And in some institutions, they're still, 50-50 in some areas. I mean, BYU, Penn State, Nebraska has a lot of quote-unquote people like me. So, but this idea that is there a cultural reason why white people don't play football, or is it we've drilled into all the coaches and stuff that when you're actually choosing between somebody who's black that maybe looks athletic better, I don't know, against the white person, that they continually pick the black person. I just know that there is a difference, and I've said it before when I talk about IQ. When you talk about the group averages and stuff, there is a difference between quote unquote white Europeans against African Americans. I'm not going to compare them to sub-African, people from Africa itself. But there's about a one deviation change, 100 to 85. Obviously, people fall along the different lines, and there are guys that look like me that are morons when it comes to looking at the scales of IQ, and the same thing with football. Even though the demographics in this country are changing dramatically, if looking at the stats right now, there's 65% are white and 13% are black. So that means that about 5 times more are white people. I'm sorry, I just do not believe that that when you look, if you have 100 guys out there and they're all are showing up, let's say there's 100 people that shows there and 65% are white, 65 and 35 are black, that at the end of the day it turns out to be 90 to 10. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that it's even relatively right. Now again, if people are not going out to play the game, there's a reason why for it. I mean, if you go out there, and this happened to me when I grew up, now, I don't necessarily think it was based on race, but I tried out for the basketball team, and I got cut at the end, and I got cut out because somebody was taller than me, even though I was a lot better player than that person. I'm not saying what color he was, but that's why I was cut. And so I just never decided to go back and go after it again. And I think there's some cultural thing that's going on here where a young white kid says there's no way I'm not going to be able to make the game, and they decide to do something else. And it permeates pretty much all sports right now. It's happening in world football. A lot of Africans are coming to the European leagues and to the British leagues and stuff like that, and they're starting to dominate most teams. And the question is, no African team has ever won the World Cup, and I don't really understand why this is happening over and over again. It's like either it's some sort of affirmative action that says we have to put them in our team, or these coaches just believe that they're better because on a clock they might be a tenth faster in a 40, or both sports requires some sort of brain functions. And I mean, I was watching USC South Florida last night. They had so many times that they get in trouble with stupid penalties, procedures and stuff like that, and their entire line is black. Now, again, that could be the coach. Even the coach is black, but there's something wrong there. And the game, and I hate to be so now nostalgic when it comes to watching football, but the game is played totally different now. I don't think it's a better game. I think that it's not as efficient. It's not good to watch. it's just, I still watch, I'll watch the Super Bowl and stuff, but it's just not the same. And I don't know if it's because, I have an inherent, well, a bias because I'm white, and I don't see anybody out there that looks like me. Now, again, there are some teams that have somewhat of a balance, and one of them happens to be New England. New England has a couple guys that play that are white. Even on the line, they have it, and they had it in linebackers in the old days. So it's just, again, is it just because? And I'm sure there's studies on this that says that white guys are not going out to play. But I just do not believe that if you put them all together, high school, and you just put them all in the field, and the school was the same demographics in the country, and they all would show up, that there would end up being only like 10 guys out of the 100 that would be white. Even though they outnumber the black guys 5-1, there's something going on there, and it's not because they're that much more athletic. I grew up with a lot of white guys that were just unbelievable how they could do. That they'd be able to fly past people. The biggest thing is, we're talking about you might be able to jump 3 or 4 inches more on average if you're black versus white. You might be maybe 1/10 of on a 50 or 40. You might push up weight 5 pounds more or something. It's just not. It's just shocking to me to see that it's changed so much. And I know I let it go in basketball because I always thought that was, I grew up somewhat in the ghetto. I lived in East St. Louis, and my father was there still when we moved to Florida. And then we lived in a very, multicultural area. And I remember I played for the Northeast Vikings, and it was more white team. And we played guys that played on a black team. And I went to school with these guys, but I guess their parents took them to where there were more people like them. Oh, people don't do that. That's just so tribalistic. But that's exactly what they did. And we usually beat those guys pretty easily. And, I don't know that between 13 to now 23 or so that your athletic ability changes. I just think that either people that are white just do not want to go down that area. I could say the same things about boxing, and people said this about MMA. I think it was Mayweather said that the MMA is for white people, that they won't be boxers because they couldn't beat, the best boxers that are black. Shit like that. Whatever, he can say that if he wants. I'm not going to compare Marciano to Ali. Ali was a bigger fighter. I think that he probably would have beat Marciano, but I don't know. But let's get back to that. This is just me going off rambling about this, but there's something going on here, and I think that not just because guys have said, I'm not going to watch them anymore because people are basically disparaging the country with kneeling down with the flag. Just a second, let me let this dog out. So it's I think there's more to it, and I think that obviously there's other choices you can have. But on Sunday night or Sunday, when you would think everybody would be watching, quote unquote, the sport of the country anymore, now that I think that baseball has been passed, I guess, that there are people that are turning it off, and I guess I understand that. As far as them having to want to be all SJW and stuff, let them do it because it's going to make it worse for them. I don't want to say that they're too big for their britches now, but they are. They make so much fucking money now. The players, even then, for a while I said that football players don't get as much as they should because their career can be over, and they have their contracts are totally different from the NBA and the MLB. But I have no sympathy for them anymore. And I think that we have to understand that cultural Marxism has invaded the campuses for the last 30 or 40 years. And most of the times you would say that all of the sports, that the football players probably had the most intelligence because these guys actually go to school and they had to go there almost the entire time. They come out, they're 22. They've changed a little bit now that you can come out earlier. Some of them do, but a lot of them stay in school for 4 or 5 years. And they're more well-spoken. Hopefully it doesn't sound racist, but that's true. Most of them are more well-spoken, and I think college is good. It helps people that way. But they were there during all this stuff, and they've been told all this shit that the white man has been doing this to them, and there's so much oppression going on, and the cops are out to kill all black men. So when they get a little bit of money and they know that there's nothing that's going to happen to them financially, then they want to open up their mouth, which is fine. That's their First Amendment right to do it, but it's also mine to say I'm not going to watch it anymore. I'm not going to support you because you say stupid shit. I have no issue with you out of, not on the football team, coming out there and say I want to talk about this and do this, but none of them talk about black on black crime. None of them do it. They want to say that they're all oppressed, that black men are oppressed. And you know what? Yes, black men are oppressed, but it's mostly it's on their own issues and the single mother issues that you have in the black community that's causing it. But they won't talk about that. And there are a couple times that people come out and they just get, I think it was Shermer from Seattle said something about it years ago. Of course, he got destroyed by everybody in the media. So what are you talking about? And it's all there, and it feeds into their whatever their narcissism, because most of these kids were always never told no because they were the star of their team. Even the linemen, in a lot of ways, were like either running backs when they're pee-wee or whatever, and they get bigger and they end up have to be on the line or be on defense or something like that. Or these guys were all stars. You have to be the NFL. You have to be like athletic as shit. But I don't believe that, going back to what I said before, that if all the white guys really want to play football and all black guys really want to play football, I think we'd still the same. You might be 50-50, maybe 60-40, but it should not be what it is now, 85 or 90%. Every college football team is almost that way. And I'm just looking at it, I'm just like, what the fuck? And I know there are a lot of good white guys who can play football. And when you look at, now I'm rambling again, but it's all relative. I mean, it's just, there's something going on. The people that actually recruit these kids, they don't want that. And of course, when you talk about we want to recruit a certain type of player, and if you say that, if you're like at Duke or Northwestern or you're at Notre Dame, they think you're talking about, oh, you want somebody who's white, who's a little bit smarter when it comes to that. And then they relax their requirements, and then shit starts happening on campus that you don't understand. Why? Because sometimes when you don't let great or high character guys in to play, that something might happen. It just happened in Florida. They had 9 guys that are going to probably go to jail for doing stupid shit. Anyway, as much as I like college football, there's a problem there. In NFL, I just don't have the sense anymore. I mean, I look when I was 72, 73, when the Dolphins went to had the 2 Super Bowls. That team was cornucopia of multicultural, but there were a lot of white guys playing, and there were running backs that were white, and somehow they played as well. And I just there are guys I played at in school that were just so fast that were white. Again, this is by individual experience, but I grew up in Florida in the 80s and the 90s. That was like college football had all the great athletes came out of Florida, and we still do, and a lot of them were white as well. But you just don't see that anymore, and I don't know what the cultural issue is there. Maybe when you're 14, you realize you're probably going to get on the team because everybody on the team looks like somebody else than you. Then why you go out for it? So anyway, I know that's just that's kind of like a first world problems, and it's only about entertainment. But I think that's also the reason why people are not watching the NFL much anymore. And as far as I said before, if they want to do this thing and get all SJW, a lot of people go online. They're going to say they're not going to boycott it. They don't care. They're just going to bow down to the narrative of the day. So that's all I really have to say. I hope you guys have a good weekend. I just was rambling way too much there. And I'll talk to you later, and you guys have a good day. Bye.